time, military honors will be presented.
Betty and family, we begin our service to remember Dick and to pay tribute to his life. I'm Rabbi Eddie Sukal from the Shul. We begin with the passage from the Psalms. Adonai ma'adam v'teda'ehu ben enosh v'techashavehu. Adam lehevel dama yamav ketzelover baboker yatzitz v'chalaf. La'erev yumolel v'yavesh. O God, in grief we turn to you and ask the eternal questions. What are we that you are mindful of us? What are we that you have regard for us? For at a moment like this, it seems that we are little more than a breath, our days a mere passing shadow. We come and go like grass. In the morning it shoots up renewed, yet in the evening it fades and withers. O God, you cause us to return to dust. You say to us, return, O you mortal creatures. If only we were wise and understood where we are going. But this we do know. Mark the wholehearted and behold the upright, for they shall know true peace. The author of Psalms elsewhere teaches us this, that the days of our years are 70, or perhaps by reason of strength 80 years, and yet 1,000 years in God's sight are but a yesterday when it is past. And this is the essential message of the psalm. Teach us therefore to number our days, that we may attain a heart of wisdom. That is the way Dick lived. Earning for himself that heart of wisdom. And it was a heart not only of wisdom, but of kindness and compassion. It was a heart of geniality and friendship. And the psalm concludes, may your favor, O God, be upon us. Establish the work of our hands, that it may long endure. And in the way that he lived, the work of Dick's hands will indeed long endure through you, his family, those who survive him. You keep with you your memories of a loving husband of 53 years. You keep with you memories of a man who could make friends with anyone, who talked to people and engaged with them, and before you or they realized it, he knew everything about them. Dick was a person of kindness and caring. And in big ways and small, he shared the very best of himself with all those who knew him. Most especially, of course, with you, his family. Betty and Jack and Lisa, and to the family, the grandchildren, we gather with you today to remember Dick, to pay tribute to his life. And we realize that today is a day of great sadness, a day of grief, that in your tears there is sadness and loneliness. Today is a day of sorrow, and we pray that you will feel the presence of loving friends and that you'll be comforted by us being with you today and in the days to come. And we gather not only that we might comfort you, but to call upon God on your behalf. And we ask God to comfort and embrace you at this time. Dick had a love for all of you that brought you together in life, and that love does not end with his death. That love continues. It is a love which death cannot end. And so while today is a day of grief and sadness, we reach deep into our soul to also find the capacity to express gratitude and thanks for the gift of his life, for the years granted him, for our time with him. We give thanks for all that he did and said, those things that continue now through the tenderness of memory. And we give thanks for the gifts of his heart and his mind, which were many, and all those things that brought a smile to our face and laughter to us. We give thanks for all of these. We are blessed with a lifetime of memories, and our grief and gratitude is intermingled today. In Dick's memory, I'd like to recite the 23rd Psalm, first in the Hebrew and then in the English. If you wish and you know it by heart, please feel free to join me. Adonai ro'i lo echsar binot deshe yarbitzeni al mei menuchot yenahaleni nafshi yeshovev. Yancheni v'ma'agalei tzedek lema'an shemo gam ki elech begeitz al mavet lo irara ki ata imadi shiftecha umishantecha hema yenachamuni. Ta'aroch lefanai shulchan neget zorerai. Tishanta v'shem en roshi kosi rivaya ach tov v'chesed yirdefuni. Kol yemei chayai, v'shafti beveit Adonai la'orech yamim. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He guideth me in straight paths for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou hast anointed my head with oil. My cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. To share words of tribute, I'd like to call upon Jack at this time.
Dad didn't teach me how to do this. But thank you all for coming. Dad would be very honored, probably a little embarrassed, and probably a little pissed off that he's not able to go up to each of you and thank you and talk to you one by one, because that's what Dad did. He talked to people. You know, up until just a few years ago, he could meet anybody on the street, go up, find a common ground, and just have conversation with them. Immediately make a friend. Wasn't just his spoken words, though. He was an avid letter writer. His passion for Israel, for stamps, for Israel, for any and everything Albert Einstein, led him to reach out to people all over the world and just become pen pals with them. It could be an Israeli soldier that he read about in a newspaper. It could be Menachem Begin. It could be Anwar Sadat before he got assassinated, King Hussein of Jordan, or just some common postmaster in some godforsaken corner of the world. He would write them, and he'd get responses, and they would go back and forth. And, again, it didn't matter who it was. It would undoubtedly land him on every government watch list today. But that's what he did. And as he started selling off parts of his collections and memorabilia and different stuff on eBay, again, just that faceless transaction wasn't good enough for him. He had to then reach out to them, write them letters, and again, become friendly with them. And, we're just still learning about it as some condolences come in. We're getting them from Austin, Texas, Tasmania, literally. And we just kind of shrug our shoulders and laugh at it. It's really what made these last couple of years very difficult for Dad, is the dementia robbed him of his ability to find the words that his mind was still able to create. And that was the tough part, particularly the last 2 years. But again, it's that ability to communicate. It's something that Dad taught Lisa and me at a very early age. It's something that served us very well. And it's something that we try very hard to teach our kids, which obviously is made tougher by the fact that I think communication has become a lost art. But again, it's central to everything that he was and what he was about. But it wasn't just for strangers or people that he was trying to meet. He was truly a family man. He worked very hard, but he worked very hard to support us and to provide us with everything that we needed. And in doing so, taught us that spending the time with family, it wasn't a sacrifice, it was a reward. And all of those just countless hours he would spend at Lisa's band concerts in those god-awful uniforms that she had to wear, or, driving me all over the place every single weekend watching swim meets, which those are very, very long, tough days, and he never missed one. And that again wasn't a sacrifice for him, and he did it for us. We would always talk about it after the fact, and different ways to get better. And again, it's what we try to do with our kids. And it's tough. Although to be fair, he didn't have to sit through 10 and 11-year-old kid pitch baseball. But it was tough. But Gabe, Grant, Jacob, Evan, and Ben, everything you have today is a direct result of Grandpa and your 3 other grandparents who have given a lot to teach us how to be better parents. And Dad was very, very proud of all 5 of you, just as he was Lisa, me, and especially Eric and Debbie. And again, wasn't afraid to talk about it. And if you're out there talking to people all over the world, what better subject is there to talk about than his family? And, that's kind of the universal tie that brings us all together, and that's the common ground that more often than not he was able to find. So Dad, we love you, everything you did for us, but we'll continue on. Thanks. He'd be mad that I had to write this down. That was Rabbi's suggestion.
Do you want to speak? I'd like to ask Lisa to come forward.
I find it odd to notice that both my brother and I hand wrote our speeches. And I apologize if it sounds a little repetitive, but that's Dad. I found it really hard and incredibly ironic that when I started to write this, that I developed writer's block to write a tribute about a man to whom writing meant everything. My dad, as you heard, loved to write letters the old-fashioned way. He'd sit at his desk, and then when his desk cluttered up, his trusty blue Smith Corona typewriter, and write a letter that may have been sent locally or halfway across the world. Dad would read an article about someone he found interesting, send the person the article, and begin a decades-long correspondence. And remember, it wasn't just the letters that this was about, but it was also about the stamps. Dad had a personal relationship with postmasters around the globe. And when he fulfilled his lifelong dream of taking us all to Israel to celebrate Jack's bar mitzvah, I recall that we stopped at as many post offices as we did historical sites. Dad would just befriend someone and add another name to his ever-growing list of friends from around the globe. He didn't need Facebook. He was his own Facebook. Of course, this letter writing wasn't just limited to friends. He was a prolific letter writer to everyone he loved, and I guarantee if I asked for a show of hands of who's received letters from Dad over the years, we'd have a virtual wave of hands going up. I personally benefited during the year I spent in Israel. I had a competition with a friend of mine as to who would get the most letters. And even though I'm an incredibly competitive person, I didn't have to stack the deck. I knew it was a slam dunk. Dad wrote me multiple times a week, and it wasn't anything important. It was just telling me what was going on in the world and asking me what was going on in mine. He asked me to save all the letters because he wanted the postmarks. And when I was cleaning out the house, I discovered he saved every last one of them. The ones he sent to me that I saved and the ones that I had written to him. To be fair, Dad saved pretty much everything, and he was especially proud of his Einstein collection. I'm not sure what it was that inspired Dad to start collecting Einstein things, but it was something that he was interested in to the end, and I'd like to think that maybe somewhere he's meeting Albert and maybe getting a few first-hand lessons on the theory of relativity, although I'm not sure he still would be able to understand it. I could go on for hours about the amazing man I was lucky enough to call my dad. The one who never missed a band concert I performed in or a swim meet Jack swam in. A little repetition. He's a man who took me to my first ballet, my first theater performance, my first movie, my first baseball game, hockey game. He just enjoyed doing things with his family. And of course, there's the beautiful love story that was my parents' marriage for the last 53 years. It's something that my brother and I only hope to emulate with our amazing spouses. I can only hope that Dad's 5 incredible grandsons possess some of the same qualities that made Dad so special. And to the world, he left a legacy of kindness, of friendliness, and hopefully old-fashioned letter writing. I was a daddy's girl, and I will always be a daddy's girl.
Lisa and Jack, thank you. Tradition says that words that come from the heart enter directly into the heart. Dick was born in Van Wert, Ohio, a place that I had never heard of, though I've lived in Ohio for nearly 30 years. It wasn't the largest Jewish community in the state, to be sure, but somehow he knew he wanted to marry a Jewish girl. And in Chicago, when he was an adult, had been a bachelor for a number of years, he was introduced to Betty through your favorite English teacher that knew his aunt something. I didn't follow all of the details. But it didn't matter if I can follow all the details. The important part is that you met. And it wasn't very long before you were engaged, and then it wasn't very long before you were married. and that was some 53 plus years ago. You created a family. You moved from Chicago to Grand Rapids for a number of years, both of your children born there, and then to Cleveland. And you were for each other the true definition of a spouse in Judaism. You were what we call an ezer kenegdo, a constant helpmate, a source of support, one who supports, encourages, challenges when necessary, nudges a little bit when that's important. And you created a partnership and a family and an example to your children and grandchildren, to all who knew you. Jack and Lisa, as you said, your father worked hard. He was dedicated to his work and even more dedicated to his family. And as dedicated to his work as he was, Jack, I think it was you said he retired the very first day he was able to. And he relished his retirement and he stayed busy. He was a proud resident of Beechwood. I saw someone from the Beechwood government here this morning. And you said something interesting, that he attended weekly city council meetings. There's always a few residents who do that. But Dick always went to the meetings with something positive to say. Usually people go to kvetch. But he loved Beechwood. And he was proud to live there, and he did what he could for the community in his own way. After the tragedy on 9/11 in this country, he was the moving force to have a 9/11 memorial in Beechwood. And it was through Dick and his contact in the metal and scrap metal business that he was able to arrange for a piece of steel from the towers that fell to be sent here and to become part of a Beechwood memorial. And of course there was not only the dedication of that when it arrived, but also an annual commemoration. Betty, I asked you yesterday if you and Dick traveled much. You said, no, not much. And then you rattled off all the places you had gone. Seemed to me like you traveled a fair bit. There was a great southern trip, of course, many trips to Chicago, the circuit of national parks out west. You honeymooned in New Orleans and you loved it there. And you returned many times over the years. And of course, Israel. But as you said, it got a little bit harder to travel as the years went by because Dick became a dedicated gardener. To describe him as an avid gardener doesn't really quite capture what his garden was all about. It was a cross between a garden and a farm. And when he met you, he would say, what can I grow for you? That's what he said to Eric. What can I grow for you? You told him what you liked, and then you would receive not a tomato or a pepper, bags of tomatoes, bags of peppers. And if you liked something a little odd or off the beaten path, didn't matter, he grew it. His neighbors in Beechwood had a plum tree, and so they made plum brandy. Not sure it was certified kosher for Passover, but that's what we drink at Passover. And of course, he made wine from his homegrown grapes. Lisa, you said of your dad, he was the greatest pen pal to have because he wrote constantly and he wrote to everybody. At family simchas, he was the speech maker. He always had something to say, something valuable and important. And he was a diehard Indians fan, of course, along with other sports that he enjoyed. For many years, the company he worked for had seats behind the dugout, the home dugout, and there were many family trips with the children and others. The last couple of years have not been easy for all of you, and they were not easy years for Dick. I hope that as you remember him and you look back, that you'll let the challenges of these last couple of years, let them recede into the background of your memory. Let them not be what you recall. Don't remember him in his infirmity, but remember him instead in the fullness of his life, with all that he had to offer and all that he did offer. Tradition teaches that in the way some people live, in the relationships that they create and enjoy, in the love that they share, they earn for themselves the Keter Shem Tov, the crown of a good name. Dick earned for himself that crown of a good name an infinite number of times over. And the crown of his good name is your inheritance. And with every friend that you make, with every letter you write, with every kind word you speak, you pay tribute to his life. And every time you reach out to a person in need and help them, you honor his memory. You, his family, carry the crown of his good name into the future. It survives forever. Zecher Tzadik Livracha, the memory of a good and a righteous man, is forever a blessing. Amen. In Ecclesiastes we read, "The eye never has its fill of seeing." Young or old, all of us depart this life, never seeing enough of our world. We never complete all of our tasks. We never cherish our loved ones enough before we are called home. How we yearn for a respite from that final summons. And today, of course, how we yearned to have Dick close to us for another challenge in our lives, another joyful moment, another happy occasion. We call upon God and we ask God to be with you, his family, because we know that whenever parting comes, it comes too soon. O God, console all those who mourn at this hour. Be near to them, even when your light seems distant. Sustain the mourners, O God, till their time of healing. Please rise. El Malei Rachamim Shochein Bamromim Hamtzei Menucha Nechona Tachat Kanfei HaShchina Im Kedoshim Utehorim Kizohar Harakia Mazhirim Et Nishmat Ruvain ben Yaakov Shahalach Le'olamo Began Eden Tehei Menuchato Ana Bal Harachamim Hastirehu Beseter Kenafecha Le'olamim Vayitzror Bitzror HaChaim Et Nishmato Adonai Hu Nachalato V'yanuach B'Shalom Al Mishkavo V'nomar Amen. Compassionate God, eternal Spirit of the universe, grant perfect rest in your sheltering presence to Ruvain ben Yaakov, to Richard A. Barson, for he has now entered eternity. O God of mercy, we pray, may Dick find refuge in your eternal presence, and may his soul be bound up in the bond of everlasting life. God is his inheritance. and we say, Amen. Please be seated. Following our burial service at Mount Olive Cemetery, the family will return to observe Shiva at Jack and Debbie's home, 5451 Banbury Drive in Solon. Shiva will be observed today until 8 p.m. and tomorrow, Thursday, in the afternoon, and then again in the evening. For those who might wish to honor Dick's memory with a charitable contribution, the family suggests that you direct your generosity either to the Israel Philatelic Education Fund or to Honor Flight. Zecher Tzadik Livracha, Zichrono Livracha, Dick's memory will always be a blessing. Amen.